Right, so to finish off the unit on algebra, linear relations, graphs, equations, all that stuff, we just have a couple little formulas that are on the side of the unit that you guys are expected to be shown and to know. So it's just good practice today being able to take a formula, figure out which numbers go in the right spot and use it. Right. So what the formula does that you're going to learn first, and find something called midpoint. Midpoint is just what's halfway between somewhere and somewhere else. Right. So let's say I'm in Horsham here, and someone's in Ballarat. We're looking for Ararat, basically, right? We're trying to find the location, the coordinate, like in a map, exactly halfway between the two things, right? Could be useful one day. Who knows? Maybe one of you will have to look at a map one day and, I don't know, find a point halfway between somewhere else. So if I give you a graph and I put the 2 points on it, it's pretty easy maybe to see what halfway between it is, right? I've got a point here, 1, 1. This point is 4, 3. And because there's an x and a y, I've got to go halfway across between the two things, right? So halfway from 1 to 4 is actually here at 2.5, right? Now I've also got to go halfway up, right? So halfway up from 1 to 3, hopefully you guys know in the middle of 1 and 3 is 2. Right, so that's going to give us our answer. Our answer will be a coordinate for this question. So the x coordinate will be 2.5 because it's halfway between 1 and 4, and the y coordinate would be 2. Right? So if we've got a graph, we can pretty much see what's halfway between something and something else, right? We just go halfway across and halfway up. So that previous graph, that's highlighting the general idea, but not all midpoint formulas are that straightforward. In fact, none of the ones you're doing today are that straightforward. We're just going to give you the actual coordinates rather than give you a graph to look at. What that means is you'll need a formula. This is a formula we'd normally ask you to write in your glossary, so I suggest that you do that, right? And you'll notice the formula has two parts. There's a comma in between. That means you're going to have to use the process and do it twice, right? You're going to do it for the x coordinates and the y coordinates. Basically, to calculate the midpoint of two coordinates, you find the average of the x and the average of the y. That just means you add the two x values together, the two x coordinates, you just divide them by 2. Right, that'll give you the cross answer. You'll also need the up and down answer, so you'll add those two numbers and divide by 2. All right. A lot of people each year try to put these two parts of the formula together, but you've got to do the x coordinates first, the y coordinates second. Okay, so as an example, right, if I've got two coordinates here, what you really want to just be in the habit of doing is being able to label them properly, right? We'd call the first coordinate, the letter L here is x1, because it's an x coordinate, it's in the first point that's written down, right? This is an x coordinate, this is a y coordinate. This is an x coordinate, this is a y coordinate, right? It always goes x and then y. So because this was my first point, it's x1 and y1. This is my second point, it's x2 and y2. Okay, so to find a midpoint, what it says is you get your two x coordinates, x1 and x2, and put a plus in between them, and then divide by 2. Right, so it's really just a matter of choosing the two right numbers, okay? In this case, it's L and it's M. Right, x1, x2. Right, that's what the formula said to do. Go x1 plus x2, so that's what I did. The next part of the formula says add your y coordinates together, y1 and y2. So y1 is A, and y2 is O. Right, so there is no actual answer to this question. Right, the answer isn't like 7, or like 7, 7, or 2, 2, anything like that. Just really showing you that you should be labeling your points, and because you've labeled them, you can put them in the right spot. Okay, so let's do one with actual numbers now. All right, so here are some real points, some real coordinates that you could actually see on a graph. You could graph them if you want. We're basically looking for what's halfway between being across at -2 and up at 4, and across at 16 and up at 8. All right, so I mean you can plot the points and just count your way halfway across. You also might be able to just, since these are your two upsy downsy numbers, you might know what's halfway between them already. Let's practice the formula. Normally what you do, if you have a formula, you've been asked to find a midpoint, you have a midpoint formula, you'd write your formula down, right? It's x1 plus x2 divided by 2. All right, add two numbers, divide by 2. That's their average, that's their halfway. And y1 plus y2 divided by 2 is the other part of the answer, right? You've got to do it twice. Let's practice labeling our coordinates properly. We know coordinates go x and then y. And just so we can tell our coordinates apart, we call this x1 and y1 because it's point 1. This is x2 and y2. All right, so for the actual maths, we just got to put the numbers in there, add them together. right? So even though there's negatives, who cares, right? Negatives are fine. To find the x midpoint, you go -2 plus 16 divided by 2. You can put all this in your calculator. It's fine. You've got a fraction button. We'll get the answer to that in a sec. And it'll give the first part of the answer. Actually, we should do that first, so I don't let you think you should do both of these at the same time. Right, -2 plus 16 is 14, divided by 2 is 7. Right, the number 7 is halfway between -2 and 16. For the y-coordinate, you'll be going 4 plus 8. Right, y1 is here, y2 is there. Divide by 2. 4 plus 8 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. You can now solve midpoints, and you should be able to get those right. If only you guys were allowed to stop there today, but we have another formula for you. You can learn 2 formulas on one day. That's fine. You guys are grown-ups. This next formula will tell you the distance between 2 points. So basically, again, I've got 2 dots, one here, one there on my graph, and I don't know how far away they are from each other, right? Previous formula helps you find the location of the middle in the form of a coordinate, right? So there's an x and a y. This is just like how many k's, right? If this was Ararat that we just found, now we're measuring how many k's from Horsham to Ballarat. Okay, so we're going to learn a formula to do it, to help us figure out how far apart 2 points are. It's technically the Pythagoras formula, which you guys will actually learn when you come back from remote learning, just with coordinates. You don't have to understand that or why it is, just in case you're really curious about where it came from. So generally the idea is I want to find the distance from this point to that point. Okay, it's really hard to measure because it's like a diagonal measurement. And having a ruler doesn't necessarily help you because these aren't necessarily like centimeters, right? There might be a scale going on in the background, right? So we want this distance, but it turns out we can solve this if we can measure the distance straight across and straight down, right? So straight across here, this is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units, and this is 1, 2, 3 units up, right? Distance of 7, distance of 3. And using Pythagoras, which you guys don't really know yet, these two values actually help us find that distance because we've made a right-angled triangle. So basically the formula looks like this. Okay, we've got the 2 points. We want to find how far between them. We're going to use this formula, and you guys are going to use your calculators because why would you not use a calculator to do it? This is a big square root, and the square root button is on your calculator. You'll be able to see it there. It's the very first button you should push, and everything else goes underneath it. And these are little squares, okay? Okay, so again, we've got x1, x2, y1, and y2, right? Just like the other formula, but we've got minuses and other pluses. You just got to try and practice following the formula, putting the right numbers in the right spot. Okay, so let's have a crack at it. First of all, label your points. This is x, this is y, this is x, this is y, right? Always x, y coordinates. But again, this is the first point, so we call them 1s, we call them 2s. All right, in your calculator, you'll be putting in your big square root button. These need to go in brackets. So y2, I go looking for it. There it is at 0. I take away y1, which is the number 3. I close that bracket and I put a little squared on it. Okay, it's basically going to take the numbers away and it's going to square it for us. We're going to add that on. And then I open another bracket, right? I'm just following the formula. This is just really good practice. No matter how complicated the formula is, you guys should just be able to put numbers in the right spot. It's very useful for maths, for science, for a lot of other subjects that I can't really think of because maybe they don't exist. X2 is 4. I take away. Now look, there's a negative there, and this formula has a minus, so don't skip it. I have to take away -3. And that's going to get squared as well. And then you guys are going to hit equals on your calculator. I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to get my calculator out. I'm going to tell you the answer because I can't do this one in my head. And believe it or not, the answer is 7.6, right? Amazing. 7.6 units, right? It's a measurement of distance. We don't know if it's centimeters, whatever. It's 7.6, right? So today, 2 new formulas. Midpoint formula, you've got to find x and y. Okay, 2 different answers. Put them in a coordinate. And then distance formula. Have a go at it. Try and get the numbers in the right spot. Find some distances. And if you type the buttons on your calculator incorrectly, the square root button, the brackets are squared, you'll get the right answer. All right, good luck.